In the third and final part of this video, we're going to finish up doing what we are been asked to do with the data in this example. So far, we've determined that there was one outlier we had to discard. We have the mean and median percentage of change for each city over the time frame. Now we got to use the information that we have to make projections about what the population of each city should be in 2030 according to the observed data that we have, using both the mean and the median. And then we're going to make determinations about what the projection was for the video that they had in 2030. So let's go back to our information set. And our information set says that, there we go, that we have some information to work with. We know that with the outlier thrown out over here, the median for Los Angeles was 13.41%. We know that the mean was 14.5%, so we can make projections using both of those measures of average. For Philadelphia, the median, since we didn't have to discard anything, was just the 1.82% negative, and the mean was negative 1.19%. Very close right there. Well, let's make some projections. Well, what is the percentage change? We're saying, in this case, that, for example, right here, 2.76%, the population of Los Angeles in 2010 was 2.76% more than it was in 2000. Or if you will, it was 102.76% of what it was in 2000. And we can use that concept to make some predictions. So over here, I'm going to say 2030 using mean. Why not? 2030 using the mean average. What should our number be according to the rate of change that we've had over here? Well, in 2020, we know that the population of Los Angeles was 4,083,262, or at least that's the number I'm working with from when I paused the video. If the mean rate of change for Los Angeles is 14.5%, that means that the population in 2030 should be 114.5% of what it was in 2020. So I can take that 2020 number that I already have highlighted, equals that number, and multiply it by, in parentheses, 1 plus the mean rate of change. And that comes out to a little over 4,675,000. Again, we don't need decimals because you can't have partial people, so I'm just going to reduce that decimal down to 0. There we go, get it out of the way. What about if we use the median? Sorry, 2030 using the median. Same concept applies. Our median average was 13.41%. We are going to have this be equal to whatever 2020's population was, times 1 plus the median rate of change, which is 13.41%. And that comes out to 4,630,000-ish. And decimals. So looking at those two numbers that we have right there, how do they compare to what the video projected? Well, the video is only projecting that Los Angeles' population would have been 4,313,887. Those numbers are both considerably higher. That's a little off right there. Let's go to Philly. Let's see if Philly makes a better estimate. And we're going to use the same concepts that we had over here. So 2030's population, using our mean decline in this case of 1.19%. That should be equal to what it was in 2020, our last observed data point, times, in parentheses, 1 plus the mean rate of change. That's our average over that period of time. And we come up with 1,572,304 people, if we round off, is what our model, if you will, is projecting that Philly's population will be, using the mean change that they've had every 10 years for the last 100 years. What about the median? Take the population that we had in 2020 times 1 plus the median rate of change, which is negative 1.82%. And when I put that in here, I come up with 1,562,304. 45. So does that number make any sense with what we have going on over here? Well, they're projecting that Philadelphia's population is going to be 1.7 million. Both ways that we came about doing it, we're coming up with a substantially low number. So neither of our city's projections are lining up particularly well with what the video has. It's curious. Let's go back to our discussion over here. And it says on the very bottom, feel free to work the data in any way you see fit to try to substantiate any opinions that you have in numbers. Look for trends, for things that just might not be right about the way that we're looking at this information. And for Los Angeles, I see one. Yes, we are coming up with a median rate of 13.4%, even if we discard that one outlier change. The mean's 14.5%, again, discarding that outlier change. Those are the numbers we have to work with. But that change isn't really representative of what's happened to Los Angeles over the last 50 years or so. Those numbers are being propped up very much by what happened to Los Angeles in the earlier to mid-1900s. Not the late 1900s, and especially not in the 21st century. What if we cut down our information? Am I going to get a number that's going to come up with closer to what they are predicting? I'm going to say right here that our information is being a little distorted by the old numbers, and I want to use only newer information. So what I am going to do is I'm going to find the median and the mean of just the numbers that we have from the 21st century. What is the median of those numbers? Let me grab the median function really fast. I'm going to hit OK. 21st century would just be the three numbers that we have that were observed during the 21st century, cells D11 to D13. And I'm going to hit OK. And I come up with 5.96%. If I go over here for the mean, in this case, that's average. I'm just going to type it in, equals average, opening parenthesis, of those same three numbers. And I come up with 5.41%. Well, using this, what would our population change be? Well, let's go and find out what it's going to be 2030 per projection, we'll call it, with the median. Take the same concept that we had before. We're going to take the population as it was in 2020, multiply it by 1 plus our rate of change, but now we're just going to use the median rate of change for how things changed in the 21st century, so that 5.96%. And I come up with 4,326,000-ish people that they are expecting to be in Los Angeles in 2030, according to our model. Let's go up with our projection using the mean. We'll use the same concept, equal to what we knew there was in 2020 times 1 plus this rate of change that we have just from the 21st century's data. And that comes out to be 4,304,357. And both of these numbers are much, much closer to the projection that the video made. In fact, the video's projection is pretty much in the middle of these two numbers over here. So what are we saying right here? We're saying that the people at Data is Beautiful that made this thing realized a trend right here. That yes, Los Angeles had substantial growth in the early years, but going forward, they are projecting that the increase to the city's population isn't going to ever be 20 or 30%. Again, it's going to be more representative of what they've observed in recent years. And they're making very conservative estimates for the increase in prediction, thinking it should be somewhere around the average of what's happened so far in the 21st century, somewhere in the mid 5%. And I like that. Let's go through and do the same thing over here for Philadelphia. And I'll throw it in down here. So let's figure out what our median rate of change was for Philadelphia using just the numbers we have from the 21st century. So I'm going to go and I'm going to highlight those three figures that we have that were in the 21st century using the median function. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm coming up with a increase of 0.69%. What about the mean that we have during that period? Well, that's going to be the average function once again. Again, just of those three figures that we're looking for that happened during the 21st century, and it comes out to 0.2%. Let's do our formula right here for our projection by taking 2020's actual population and multiplying it by 1 plus the rate of change. We're doing the median, so we'll take our median rate of change of 0.69%. And I come up with 1,602,000. What about the mean projection that we have here? If we use that same concept, we're going to take 2020's numbers, multiply by 1 plus the mean rate of change, which is going to be 0.2%, and that comes out to be 1,594,000 people. Both of these numbers are still significantly lower than what they are projecting. Well, that's kind of curious. Why could that be? We don't have anything in our numbers that we can go and we can refine this and we can cut it down by, but right here in our information, it tells us we can discuss any qualitative reasons that the city's populations may be changing in the way that they are. Well, why did Los Angeles explode? I mean, there's a lot of different reasons that could happen there. People were moving out there, new business was opening up. But you know what? The weather is gorgeous in Los Angeles. And there was a ton of open area back there in the 1930s and 1940s and 1950s before it was very, very populated. It's easy to acquire land to live in a place that has fantastic weather. It's a great opportunity for anybody, and it probably led to that significantly high set of numbers that we have for their rate of increase. But it's stabilized off. I mean, Los Angeles now has a ton of people. It's probably pretty expensive to live in. It's probably hard to acquire new property right there. There's not as much room for massive growth as there was before. So a qualitative reason that Los Angeles' population could have tempered off, could have stabilized out, is simply it's harder to move to Los Angeles now than it was before for all sorts of economic reasons, which could have something to do with why they're projecting such a huge increase in Philly. I mean, Philly has been pretty stable throughout this whole time, and there's a lot of negative numbers in there. I mean, Philly's population now is lower than it was 100 years ago. So why are they projecting that this is going to go up? Well, maybe those two are linked. Maybe they are projecting that there's going to be a greater increase in Philadelphia's population simply because all of the nice weather cities like Phoenix and Austin and Los Angeles and San Diego are getting harder and harder to move to. The cities have more jobs, so maybe they're projecting that for Philadelphia and probably several cities in the Northeast over here, the difficulty and the cost of moving to the nice, fair weather, booming economic southwestern cities is going to be preventative for a lot of people, and a lot of people from upstate New York, from rural Pennsylvania, etc., might move into Philly. Now, do I know if that's true? No, but I'm trying to think of reasons of why their projection could be so much different than the numbers that we're coming up with, and it's telling me right here that there's something that they are considering in there, a reason that they're thinking Philly's going to have such a great increase in population, and the way that we're doing this is not capturing it. So they have some kind of way to quantify qualitative data that's giving them a projection that's greatly different than ours. There is no right or wrong with this. Like, as you can tell right now, I'm just spitballing as I'm talking. Interpreting information is not an exact science. It's an art form. And for your assignment, feel free to come up with whatever points that you think are worth discussing. So best of luck, and I'll see you around in a future discussion.